글,
한글.
Hello and welcome to this beginner course on Hangul, the Korean alphabet. My name will be your guide, and over the next set of lessons, we will go from knowing absolutely nothing about Korean writing to being able to read real Korean syllables out loud. If you have ever looked at Korean text and seen what appears to be a wall of little square shapes, do not worry. By the end of this course, those squares will turn into sounds you can actually pronounce. The word on the screen, written Hangul, is the Korean name for their own alphabet. It literally carries the meaning of the Great Script, or the Korean script. Notice that it is made of two blocks, Han and Jul, and each block is itself built from smaller letters stacked together. That single observation, that Korean packs its letters into neat square blocks, is the most important idea in the whole course, and we will return to it again and again. Take a breath, relax, and let us begin a genuinely fun writing system.
Here is the road map for our journey, and I want you to see the whole shape of it before we start, because knowing where we are going makes every step feel easier. First, we will spend a little time on where Hangul came from and why so many linguists call it one of the most clever writing systems ever invented. This is not just history for its own sake. Understanding the design will actually help you memorize the letters faster. Second, we will meet the building blocks, the individual consonants and vowels. Third, and this is the heart of Korean, we will learn how those letters are packed together into square syllable blocks. Fourth, we will study bachim, which is the special name for a consonant that sits at the bottom of a block, because those follow their own pronunciation rules. And fifth, we will put everything together to read real words, everyday greetings, and short phrases. Look at the little tower on the right. Letters at the top flow down into blocks, blocks flow into words, and words flow into reading. That is exactly the order we will follow. Each layer rests on the one above it, so if you ever feel lost, come back to this picture. We climb one small step at a time.
Let us begin with part 1, the story of Hangul. Before we memorize a single letter, I want to tell you where this alphabet came from, because it is one of the rare writing systems in the world that was deliberately designed by known people, at a known time, for a known reason. That story is short, and it will make the letters feel like old friends rather than random shapes.
한,
So what exactly is Hangul? Hangul is the alphabet used to write the Korean language. I want to stress the word alphabet, because this is very good news for you. Korean is not written with thousands of picture characters the way Chinese is. Instead, like the English alphabet, Hangul has a small set of symbols, and each symbol stands for a single sound. There are separate letters for consonants and separate letters for vowels, just as we have in English. The full basic set is only 24 letters, 14 consonants and 10 vowels. That is genuinely all you need to start reading. Now here is the one twist that makes Korean look different from English. Instead of stringing the letters out in a long horizontal line, Korean gathers the letters of each syllable into a little square block. Look at the block on the right. It is the syllable Han, and inside it you can already see 3 separate letters packed together. One block equals one syllable. Keep repeating that to yourself. Because each letter maps to a sound, the moment you know the sounds, you can sound out almost any word, even words you have never seen and do not understand yet. That is the promise of an alphabet, and Hangul delivers it beautifully.
Here is the story, and it is a wonderful one. In the year 1443, the Korean King Sejong the Great created this alphabet. Before that, Koreans wrote their language using borrowed Chinese characters, which took years of study to master, so reading and writing were locked away for a small class of educated men. King Sejong thought this was unfair. He wanted ordinary farmers and merchants and women, everyone, to be able to read and write their own language. So he led the design of a brand new alphabet, and in 1446 he published it in a document with a beautiful name, Hunminjeongeum, which means the correct sounds for the instruction of the people. The design goal was radical. The alphabet had to be so simple and so logical that a common person could learn it in a matter of days. One famous line from that era boasts that a wise man can learn it before the morning is over, and even a foolish man can learn it in 10 days. That is almost unheard of for a writing system. Keep that ambition in mind, because everything about the shapes of the letters was engineered to make learning fast. You are about to benefit from a design that is nearly 600 years old and was made specifically for beginners like you.
기억, 키읔, 쌍기역.
Now, why do linguists so often call Hangul the most scientific alphabet in the world? There are 3 big reasons, and understanding them will genuinely speed up your learning. First, the consonant letters are shaped like the mouth making the sound. For example, the letter for the G and K sound is drawn to look like the back of your tongue rising to touch the roof of your mouth, which is exactly what your tongue does when you say that sound. So the letter is a tiny diagram of your own mouth. Second, sounds that are related to each other are given shapes that are related to each other. Watch the row on the right. We start with the basic letter for G or K. If we add an extra stroke, we get a stronger, more breathy K sound. And if we double the letter, we get a tense, tightened KK sound. So the family resemblance in the sound is mirrored by a family resemblance in the shape. That is a huge help for your memory, because you learn letters in connected groups rather than as isolated symbols. Third, the vowels are built from 3 simple pieces that represent sky, earth, and the standing human being, and we will see those soon. Because the shape of each letter encodes how you actually produce the sound, scholars give Hangul a special label. They call it a featural alphabet. In plain words, the look of the letter tells you the sound. No other major writing system does this so consistently, and it is the reason you will pick up Hangul far faster than you might expect. Let us pause and review part 1, because we are about to switch from history to the actual letters, and a quick recap locks the ideas in. First, Hangul is a true alphabet, which means its letters stand for individual sounds, so learning the sounds lets you read. Second, there are 24 basic letters, 14 consonants, and 10 vowels. Third, the alphabet was created by King Sejong the Great in 1443, with the goal that everyone, not just scholars, could read and write. And fourth, the letters do not sit in a long line, they pack together into square syllable blocks, and the shape of each letter is a clue to how it sounds. Now test yourself out loud before we move on. How many basic letters are there in total? The answer is 24. And what shape do the letters combine into? They combine into syllable blocks. If you answered both of those, you are ready to meet the building blocks themselves. If not, that is completely fine. Just glance back at this slide, because these 4 facts are the foundation for everything that follows.
Welcome to part 2, where we learn how Hangul is put together. We now know that letters pack into square blocks. In this part, we will look closely at those blocks, what goes inside them, how many pieces they can hold, and in which direction we read and write them. Master this and the letters themselves will fall into place naturally.
나, 니은, 아, 난.
Here is the single biggest idea in Korean writing, so let us take it slowly. Every Korean syllable is written as one square block, and inside that block you stack the letters. The simplest block is a consonant plus a vowel. On the left you see the block na. It is made of the consonant N and the vowel A, written not side by side like English letters, but fitted together into a tidy square. Now, many syllables also end in a consonant, and Korean handles that by adding a third letter at the bottom of the same block. On the right you see the block nan. It is the consonant N, then the vowel A, and then a second N tucked underneath as the final consonant. Notice that both examples are still just one square each. Adding the final consonant did not make the block wider, it made it taller. 2 rules never change. A block always starts with a consonant, and a block always contains a vowel. If a syllable begins with a vowel sound with no consonant, Korean still needs a consonant slot filled, and we will see the clever silent placeholder it uses for that later. For now, hold on to this. The thing you read is the block, not the individual letter. When you look at Korean text, your eye should jump from block to block, sounding out one syllable at a time.
가, 고, 강, 공.
Now that we know a block holds 2 or 3 letters, the natural question is, where exactly do they go? The answer is elegant. The shape of the vowel decides the arrangement, and there are just 4 patterns. Look at the 4 boxes from left to right. In the first pattern, the vowel is a tall vertical line like the A in ga. A tall vowel stands to the right of the consonant, so the consonant and vowel sit side by side like ga. In the second pattern, the vowel is a flat, horizontal line like the O in go. A flat vowel lies underneath the consonant, so they are stacked top and bottom like go. The third and fourth patterns simply add a final consonant, and the rule for that is wonderfully consistent. The final consonant always goes on the very bottom of the block, spanning the full width. So a tall vowel with a final consonant gives you 3 pieces, the consonant and vowel on top and the final consonant beneath, like gang. And a flat vowel with a final consonant gives you 3 clean rows stacked vertically, like gong. Here is the memory hook. Tall vowels sit to the right, flat vowels sit underneath, and a final consonant always goes on the bottom. If you can see the vowel's shape, you already know the layout. We will practice reading these shapes many times, so do not worry about memorizing all 4 at once.
한, 국, 어,
한국어.
Next, in which direction do we read and write? Modern Korean is written and read exactly like English at the page level. Blocks go from left to right, and lines go from top to bottom. So a sentence flows across the page just as you are used to. The interesting part is inside each block. Within a single block, you also read top to bottom and left to right, which means you read the initial consonant first, then the vowel, then the bottom final consonant last. On the right is the word Hangul, which means the Korean language, made of 3 blocks read left to right. Han, then guk, then eo. When you write the letters by hand, each individual letter is also drawn with the same logic. Strokes go from top to bottom and from left to right, the same order you already use for the Latin alphabet. One more practical tip: try to keep every block the same square size, giving each letter even spacing, because in Korean every syllable block occupies the same amount of space, whether it holds 2 letters or 3. The beautiful thing is that one simple rule governs everything. Strokes, letters, blocks, and lines all go top to bottom and left to right. Learn it once and it applies at every level.
기역, 니은, 디귿, 리을, 미음, 비읍, 시옷, 이응, 지읒, 치읓, 히읗, 티읕, 피읕, 히읗, 아, 야, 어, 여, 오, 요, 우, 유, 으, 이.
Before we dive into the details, let me show you the entire core alphabet on one screen, so you can see that the whole task really is small and finite. On the left are the 14 basic consonants, laid out in their traditional dictionary order. On the right are the 10 basic vowels, also in order. That is it. 24 letters. I am showing you all of them now, not so you can memorize them this instant, but so that the mountain looks like the small hill it actually is. Everything else in Korean writing, the tense consonants, the aspirated consonants, the compound vowels, is just these basic pieces combined or slightly modified. We are going to meet them in small, friendly groups, usually 4 or 5 at a time, with pronunciation guides, memory tricks, and example syllables for each group. And after every group, we will practice before adding more. So please do not feel overwhelmed by this screen. Think of it as the table of contents for the fun part that starts now. Take one last relaxed look, and then let us go and meet the consonants.
고,
Let us review part 2 before we meet the letters. First, one block equals one syllable, and you read Korean block by block. Second, every block is a consonant plus a vowel, with an optional final consonant. Third, the vowel's shape sets the layout. Tall vertical vowels go to the right of the consonant, and flat horizontal vowels go underneath it. Fourth, whenever there is a final consonant, it always sits on the bottom of the block. And fifth, everything, from strokes to letters to blocks to lines, runs top to bottom and left to right. Now test yourself with the block on the screen. Go. Is its vowel tall or flat, and where did it end up? The vowel in go is the flat, horizontal O, so it went underneath the consonant, giving a stacked block. If you saw that, wonderful, you truly understand the block system, and you are ready for the consonants. If not, look again at the 4 layouts we practiced. It will click quickly once you start reading real letters, which is exactly what we do next. Now for part 3, the consonants. This is a big part, so we will take it in small groups. We will start with the 10 plain, basic consonants, split into 2 easy sets of 5. Then we will learn the 4 aspirated consonants, which are said with a strong puff of air. And finally, the 5 tense consonants, which are said with a tight, tense mouth. After each group, we will practice. Remember the design principle from earlier. Consonant shapes imitate the mouth, so we will point out those little pictures as we go, because they make memorizing almost effortless.
기역, 니은, 미음, 시옷.
Before the tables, let me convince you that consonants really are pictures of your mouth, because this insight turns rote memorization into understanding. Take the letter G, written as a shape like a bent corner. When you say a hard G, the back of your tongue rises to touch the roof of your mouth, and the letter is drawn as exactly that, the raised back of the tongue. The letter N is drawn like a bent line pointing up and to the right. When you say N, the tip of your tongue touches the ridge just behind your upper front teeth, and the shape traces that tongue tip against the ridge. The letter M is a neat little square, and that square is your closed lips seen from the front, because M is made by pressing the lips together. The letter S looks like a small tent or a narrow peak, picturing the thin stream of air hissing between your teeth. So as we go through the consonants, do not ask what does this squiggle mean. Instead, say the sound, feel what your mouth does, and notice that the letter is a snapshot of that movement. This is the secret weapon King Sejong built into the alphabet, and it is why you can learn it so fast.
기역, 가, 니은, 나, 디귿, 다, 리을, 라, 미음, 마.
Here is the first group of 5 basic consonants, and I will read across each row. The first letter is called geok, and it makes the G sound as in go or a K sound at the end of a syllable. Our example block is ga. The second is neon, the N sound as in no, the example is na. The third is dijet, the D sound as in do or a T at the end, the example is da. The fourth is real, and this one deserves attention. Because its sound sits between an English R and an English L, the best way to make it is a light, quick tap of the tongue, exactly like the double T in the American pronunciation of butter or the R in the Spanish word pero. Our example is ra, said with that gentle tap. The fifth is miam, the M sound as in mom, the example is ma. Now say the whole row out loud with me, slowly. Ga, na, du, ra, ma. Notice that in every one of these blocks the same vowel sits to the right, because it is a tall vowel, just as we learned. Do not rush. Repeat ga, na, du, ra, ma a few times until the shapes start to feel like sounds. Pay special attention to that real tap, since it is the single sound English speakers most often get wrong.
비읍, 바, 시옷, 사, 이응, 아, 지읒, 자, 히읗, 하.
Here is the second group of 5 basic consonants completing the 10 plain consonants. The first is biup, the B sound as in boy or a P at the end of a syllable. The example is ba. The second is siat, the S sound as in si. The example is sa. The third is very special. It is called iung, and it is drawn as a simple circle. At the start of a block, this circle is completely silent. It is just a placeholder that fills the consonant slot when a syllable begins with a vowel sound. So the block that is a circle followed by the vowel A is pronounced simply a, with no consonant at all. Remember earlier we said a block must always start with a consonant. This silent circle is the trick that lets a syllable begin with a vowel while still obeying that rule. The very same circle, when it sits at the bottom of a block as a final consonant, is pronounced ng, like the end of the English word sing. So it is silent on top, ng on the bottom. The fourth letter is jiut, the J sound as in jump, the example is ya. And the fifth is hiut, the H sound as in hat, the example is ha. Say the row with me, ba, sa, a, ya, ha. That circle that turns from silent to ng is one of the most useful things to remember in all of Hangul, so give it an extra repetition.
고, 너, 두, 미, 소.
Time to practice, because reading is a skill and skills need repetition. On the screen are 5 blocks, each made from a plain consonant we just learned plus a vowel. Before any answer appears, try to sound out each one yourself. Take the first block. It is the consonant G on the left and the flat vowel O underneath, so it reads go. The second is N plus the vowel EO, giving neo. The third is D plus U, giving do. The fourth is M plus the tall vowel I on the right, giving me. The fifth is S plus O, giving so. Now the romanizations appear in green underneath, so check your work. Go neo, do, me, so. If you got even 3 of the 5, you're doing wonderfully for someone who started this lesson knowing nothing. The key habit I want you to build is this: trust the letters. Unlike English, where A can be pronounced half a dozen ways, Hangul letters always say exactly what they show. So sound them out with confidence and they will never lie to you.
지읒, 치읓, 차, 기역, 키읔, 가, 디귿, 티읕, 다, 비읍, 피읍, 파.
Now we meet the aspirated consonants, and here the scientific design of Hangul shines. Aspirated simply means said with a strong puff of air. Hold your open palm a few centimeters in front of your mouth. When you say an aspirated sound, you should feel a clear burst of breath on your hand. Look at the table. Each aspirated letter is just its plain cousin with one extra stroke added, and that extra stroke is a visual reminder to add extra breath. The plain J becomes CH by adding a stroke. The example is cha, said with a puff. The plain G becomes a breathy K. The example is ka. The plain D becomes a breathy T. The example is ta. And the plain B becomes a breathy P. The example is pa. Say them forcefully, feeling the air. Cha, ka, ta, pa. Compare ka with the plain ga. The G is soft with almost no breath, while the K pushes a strong puff. English speakers actually already aspirate the K in kite and the P in pot, so you know how to do this. The new skill is simply controlling when to add the breath and when to hold it back. The memory rule is beautifully simple. An added stroke means added air.
기역, 쌍기역, 가, 디귿, 쌍디귿, 따, 비읍, 쌍비읍, 빠, 시옷, 쌍시옷, 싸, 지읒, 쌍지읒, 짜.
The last consonant family is the tense consonants, and once again the shapes tell the story. Each tense consonant is simply the plain letter written twice, doubled up side by side. There are 5 of them. The double G is KK, as in the example KKA. The double D is TT, as in TTA. The double B is PP, as in PPA. The doubled S is SS, as in SSA. And the double J is JJ, as in JJA. Now how do they sound? A tense consonant is tight, sharp, and clipped. Here is the trick to feel it. Tense the muscles in your throat and mouth. Hold the sound back for a tiny moment as if building pressure, and then release it suddenly. Crucially, unlike the aspirated sounds, there is no puff of air. If you hold your palm to your mouth, you should feel almost no breath. So we now have 3 versions of many sounds, and it is worth hearing them side by side. Plain ga is soft. Aspirated ka has a big puff of air. Tense KKA is tight and abrupt with no air. Say them in a row, ga, ka, KKA. These distinctions take practice for English speakers, so be patient and playful with them. Repeat KKA, TTA, PPA a few times, keeping them short and sharp.
기역, 키읔, 쌍기역, 디귿, 티읕, 쌍디귿, 비읍, 피읍, 쌍비읍, 지읒, 치읒, 쌍지읒.
Let us bring the whole consonant story together in one contrast chart, because seeing the three strengths side by side is the fastest way to lock them in. Read across each family. The G family goes from plain G to aspirated K with a big puff of air to tense KK that is tight with no puff. The D family goes D, T, T, T. The B family goes B, P, P, P. And the J family goes J, CH, J, J. Look down the columns and notice the visual logic one more time. The plain letters are the simple base shapes, the aspirated letters add a stroke to signal the extra breath, and the tense letters double the base shape to signal the tight, tense articulation. The bottom row summarizes the feel. Plain is soft, aspirated has a big puff you can feel on your hand, and tense is tight and clipped with no air. If you can hear and produce these three levels, you have mastered the hardest part of Korean pronunciation for an English speaker. Everything from here is easier. Take a moment to say one full family out loud, top to bottom, ga, ka, kka. Feel the difference in your breath and your muscles each time.
이응, 치읓, 키읔, 티읕, 피읕, 쌍기역, 쌍디귿, 쌍비읍, 쌍시옷, 쌍지읒, 가, 가.
Let us review part 3, our biggest part so far. First, there are 10 plain, basic consonants, and their shapes imitate the position of the mouth, tongue, or lips. Second, the circle letter iung is silent when it starts a block and is pronounced ng when it sits at the bottom. Third, the aspirated consonants are formed by adding a stroke to a plain letter, and they are pronounced with a strong puff of air. They are ch, k, t, and p fourth. The tense consonants are formed by doubling a plain letter, and they are pronounced tight and clipped with no puff of air. They are kk, tt, pp, ss, and jj. Now check yourself with the three blocks on the screen, ga, ka, and kka. How do they differ? Ga is the soft plain sound. Ka is the aspirated sound with a strong puff of air. And kka is the tense sound, tight and sharp with no air at all. Say all three out loud, holding your palm to your mouth to feel the breath change. When that three-way contrast feels natural, you are ready to move on to the vowels, which are, honestly, the easy and delightful part.
Welcome to part 4, the vowels. After the three-way consonant contrast, you will find the vowels refreshingly gentle. There are 10 basic vowels and a handful of combined ones. Best of all, they are built from just 3 tiny strokes with a lovely philosophy behind them, and once you see the pattern you will be able to predict most of them. Let us begin with that philosophy.
으, 이.
Here is the elegant idea behind the vowels. King Sejong's scholars built them from 3 basic strokes drawn from an old philosophy of the universe. The first is a single dot, representing the sky and the sun. In modern printing, this dot has stretched into a short stroke, but originally it was a round dot. The second is a horizontal flat line, representing the flat earth. The third is a vertical upright line, representing a standing human being. Every single vowel in Korean is made by taking the earth line or the human line and attaching one or more short strokes, the descendants of that sky dot, to it. So instead of 10 unrelated vowel shapes, you have 2 base lines, horizontal and vertical, decorated with little strokes on different sides. Where the stroke points, up, down, left, or right, tells you which vowel it is. Keep this in mind. Horizontal baselines will give us one family of vowels, and the vertical baseline will give us another. As we go through them, watch how the short stroke simply moves around, and the whole set will feel logical rather than arbitrary.
아, 야, 어, 요,
Let us meet the first family of simple vowels, the vertical family, all built on the upright human line. I will read each row. The first is a, pronounced like the A in father, a nice open ah. The example block, a silent circle plus this vowel, is simply A. The second is y, pronounced like the start of yard. The example is y. Notice its shape is the vowel with a second short stroke added. The third is eo, and this one needs care. It is a more open sound like the U in but or the O in the British pronunciation of hot. We write it eo, but you say it like The example is eo. The fourth is yo, like the word young. The example is yo, and again it is the eo vowel with an extra stroke. Do you see the pattern in the tip box? One short stroke gives you the plain vowel, and adding a second stroke adds a y sound at the front. So it becomes ya, and eo becomes yo, just by doubling the little stroke. Say the row with me. A ya, eo, yo. This add a stroke for y pattern will repeat in the next family too, which means you are really only learning half as many shapes as it first appears.
이, 오, 오, 요, 요, 우, 우, 이요, 이요, 으, 으, 이.
Now the horizontal family, built on the flat earth line, plus the lone human line vowel to finish the basic 10. The first is O, a rounded sound like the O in go. The example is O. The second is yo, like a yo-yo. The example is yo, and it is the O vowel with an extra stroke, following our Y pattern again. The third is U, a rounded sound like the U in moon. The example is U. The fourth is U, like the word you. The example is U, once more the plain vowel plus a stroke. The fifth is EU, and this is the one new sound English does not really have. To make it, say oo as in moon, but instead of rounding your lips into a circle, pull them wide and flat as if smiling. That flat, unrounded oo is EU, the example is EU. And the last basic vowel is I, a clear E sound as in C. The example is I, written as the plain upright human line. So the pattern holds, O and U each gain a stroke to become yo and U. Say them all with me. O, yo, you, EU. I spend an extra moment on AU, smiling as you say it, because that lip position is the key to getting it right.
두, 요, 미, 스, 지, 오, 우, 으, 이.
Let us practice combining what we know, mixing consonants with our new vowels. 5 blocks are on the screen. Sound out each before the answer appears. The first is D with the flat vowel U underneath, so it reads do. The second is the YO vowel under a consonant giving yo. The third is M with the tall vowel I on the right, giving me. The fourth is S with the flat EU vowel underneath. Remember to spread your lips flat, so it reads su. The fifth is J with the tall I on the right, giving jai. Now the green answers appear. Do, yo, mi, su, jai. Check yourself. And notice how the layout rule from part 2 is doing its job automatically. When the vowel is flat, like U or EU, it tucks underneath the consonant. When the vowel is tall, like I, it stands to the right of the consonant. You do not have to memorize the placement separately. The vowel's shape decides it every time. Read the 5 blocks once more on your own and feel how the sounds simply fall out of the letters.
에, 아, 이, 에, 어, 에, 예, 야, 예, 예, 요, 예.
Now we reach the compound vowels, which are just 2 vowels joined together, and they are easier than they look. The first group is the E-type sounds. Take the vowel and attach the vowel I to its right, and you get I, which in modern Korean sounds like the E in bed. The example is I. Take EO and attach I, and you get E, also like the E in bed. The example is E. Here is the good news in the tip box. Although these 2 vowels, I and E, were once distinct, in modern spoken Korean they have merged and sound almost identical, both like the E in bed. So you do not have to agonize over telling them apart by ear. you mainly need to know both spellings exist. Then following our familiar Y pattern, y plus I gives ye, and yo plus I gives ye, both with a Y glide in front of that E sound. The examples are ye and ye. The general principle in the key box is that adding the vertical I vowel to a vertical vowel closes the sound toward an E. Say them with me. I, E, ye, ye. Do not worry about perfection here. Even Korean native speakers treat I and E as the same sound in everyday speech.
와, 오, 아, 와, 워, 우, 어, 워, 왜, 에, 왜, 왜, 에, 왜, 왜, 이, 왜, 위, 위, 의, 으, 의.
The final vowel group is the W-type compound vowels, and although there are 7 of them, they follow one simple logic. If a syllable starts with the rounded O or U vowel and then glides into another vowel, you get a W sound at the front, exactly as the combined shape shows. Let us read them. O plus A gives wa, as in the example wa. U plus E gives wo, as in wo. O plus I gives we. U plus E gives we. Note that we and we sound almost the same, again because I and E have merged. O plus I gives O, which is pronounced like the English we. The example is O. U plus I gives Y, like the word we with rounded lips, as in Y. And finally, EU plus I gives UI, a quick glide from EU to I. The example is UI, and this one is often pronounced simply like E or I depending on the word. The tip box captures the whole idea. Put a rounded vowel in front and it adds a W glide. So you are not memorizing 7 random shapes, you are reading 2 vowels left to right and blending them. Say the sample row with me, wa, wo, y. If these feel like a lot, relax, they are the least common vowels, and you will absorb them naturally as you read real words.
에, 오, 우, 여, 구.
Let us review part 4. First, all vowels are built from 3 strokes representing sky, earth, and the human being, so they form logical families rather than random shapes. Second, adding an extra short stroke adds a Y sound to the front, turning it into Y and O into yo. Third, the placement rule still holds. Tall vowels stand to the right of the consonant, and flat vowels tuck underneath. Fourth, the compound vowels I and E both sound like the E in bed, and putting a rounded O or U in front of a vowel adds a W glide, giving sounds like wa and y. Now check yourself with the 2 questions on the screen. What sound is the block that is a silent circle with the yo vowel? It is yo, as in young. And in the block gu, which way does the U vowel point and where does it sit? The U is a flat, horizontal vowel, so it points downward and sits underneath the consonant G, giving. If you answered both, you have a solid grip on the vowels, and we are ready to combine consonants and vowels deliberately into blocks, which is the next part.
Now for part 5, where everything comes together, building syllable blocks. You already know the consonants and the vowels. In this part, we learn the precise rules for packing them into those neat squares, so that you can not only read Korean but also write it correctly. We will build a few blocks step by step, and by the end you will be assembling syllables with confidence.
이응,
Let us state the rules of a block clearly, because these 4 rules never change. Rule 1, a block always begins with a consonant. There are no exceptions to the starting slot, something must fill it. Rule 2, a block always has exactly 1 vowel, no more and no less. Rule 3, a block may optionally end with 1 or, in some cases, 2 final consonants, and those bottom consonants have a special name, bacham, which we will study in the next part. Rule 4, and this is the clever one. When a syllable actually starts with a vowel sound, with no consonant, Korean fills the mandatory consonant slot with the silent circle, iung, which makes no sound in that position. So the word for child begins with a vowel sound, but it is still written with a silent circle in front to satisfy Rule 1. Look at the diagram. The consonant slot is on the upper left, the vowel slot fills the top, and the optional final consonant slot waits at the bottom. The minimum legal block is simply a consonant plus a vowel. Keep these 4 rules in your pocket. Every block you ever read or write obeys them.
Here is a simple decision flowchart for placing the letters, and it comes down to just 2 questions. Question 1 on the left, is the vowel tall or flat? If it is tall, a vertical vowel like O or I, then the consonant goes on the left and the vowel stands on the right side by side. If it is flat, a horizontal vowel like O or U, then the consonant goes on top and the vowel lies below it, stacked. Question 2 on the right, is there a final consonant? If yes, it always goes on the bottom of the block, spanning the full width, regardless of which layout you chose for the first 2 letters. That is the entire placement system. Follow the arrows. Start by asking tall or flat, arrange the consonant and vowel accordingly, then ask whether there is a final consonant, and if so, drop it on the bottom. 2 questions and every block is placed correctly. This is why Korean text looks so orderly. Every syllable is assembled by the same 2 decisions.
한, 히읗, 하, 아, 니은.
Let us build a real block step by step. The syllable han, which you already met in the very first slide as half of the word Hangul. Step 1. Start with the initial consonant. The sound han begins with H, so we write the consonant hyet. Step 2. Add the vowel. The vowel is a, which is a tall vertical vowel, so by our rule it stands to the right of the consonant, giving the block ha. Step 3. Add the final consonant. The syllable ends in an N sound, so we place the consonant nian on the bottom of the block, spanning the full width, and now we have han. Watch how the block stayed the same square size at every step. Adding the final consonant simply filled the bottom slot. So H plus a plus N equals han. That is the whole process. Consonant first, then the vowel placed according to its shape, then any final consonant on the bottom. Every syllable you will ever write in Korean is built exactly this way.
기역, 오, 고, 미음, 우, 리을, 물, 시옷, 아, 니은, 산, 비읍, 에, 배, 지읒, 이, 집, 눈.
Here are 6 more blocks built with the very same recipe, so you can see the pattern repeat. On the top row, G plus the flat vowel O stacks into go, meaning nose in some contexts, but here just a sound. M plus U plus the final L gives mul, which actually means water, a useful word. S plus a plus final N gives san, which means mountain. On the bottom row, B plus I gives bay, which can mean pear, boat, or stomach depending on context, a fun example of how short Korean syllables are. J plus I plus final B gives jip, which means house. And N plus U plus final N gives none, which means eye or snow. Notice, as the tip box says, that mul, san, jip, and none all end in a final consonant sitting on the bottom of the block, while go and bay have no final consonant and so are just 2 letters. Same recipe every single time. Consonant, vowel placed by shape, optional final consonant on the bottom. You are now reading real Korean words without even trying.
미음, 아, 마, 히읗, 어, 커, 피읍, 우, 리을, 풀, 디귿, 오, 이응, 동.
Now you try assembling blocks yourself. On the screen are 4 sets of loose letters. Combine each set into a single block in your head before the answer drops down. The first is M plus a. Since it is a tall vowel, it goes to the right, giving the block ma. The second is the aspirated K plus eo, another tall vowel, giving kyo, said with a puff of air. The third is P plus U plus a final L. U is flat, so it goes under the P, and the L sits on the bottom, giving pool, which happens to mean grass. The fourth is D plus O plus a final eung. O is flat, so it stacks under the D, and the bottom circle here is a final consonant, so it is pronounced NG, giving dong. Now the assembled blocks appear in green, ma, kio, pool, dong. Check your work, paying attention to that last one, where the bottom circle turned into an NG sound, exactly as we learned. Assembling blocks is a skill that becomes automatic with practice, so try building a few of your own from letters you know.
이응, 기역, 우, 미음.
Let us review part 5. First, a block is a consonant plus a vowel with an optional final consonant. Second, to place the letters you ask 2 questions. Is the vowel tall or flat, and is there a final consonant? Third, a tall vowel goes to the right, a flat vowel goes below, and any final consonant goes on the bottom. Fourth, if a syllable begins with a vowel sound, you fill the required consonant slot with the silent circle. Now check yourself. Build a block from G, then U, then M. Where does each letter go? The vowel U is flat, so it tucks underneath the G on top, and the final M sits on the bottom, giving the block gum, which is close to the Korean word that means bear when spelled with a slightly different vowel. If you place the flat U underneath and the M on the bottom, you have completely mastered block building. Next, we tackle those bottom consonants in detail, because they have their own pronunciation rules, and that is the part called bacham. Welcome to part 6, one of the most important parts of the whole course. Bacham, the final consonants. The word bacham means something like supporting floor, and it refers to any consonant that sits at the bottom of a syllable block. These bottom consonants follow special pronunciation rules that surprise many beginners, so we will go slowly. The good news is that although many different letters can appear at the bottom, they only ever produce 7 distinct sounds. Learn those 7, and you can read final consonants correctly.
밥, 비읍.
So what exactly is a bacham? A bacham is simply a consonant that sits at the bottom of a syllable block, acting as the final sound of that syllable. On the right is the word bap, meaning cooked rice, one of the most common words in Korean. It is built from B on top left, the vowel O on the right, and the bacham B on the bottom. Now here is the first key fact. Many different letters are allowed to appear in that bottom position. In fact, almost all of them, but no matter which letter it is, the sound it makes is one of only 7 possibilities. Different spellings, same small set of sounds. The second key fact is about how these final consonants are pronounced. Final stop sounds in Korean are unreleased, which means you move your mouth into position and stop the airflow, but you do not give the little puff or pop that English speakers often add at the end of a word. Think of the P in the word cap when you say it very softly and hold it without releasing the lips. That held, quiet quality is exactly how Korean bacham sounds. Keep these 2 ideas in mind. Only 7 sounds, and hold rather than release.
기역, 키읔, 쌍기역,
부엌,
니은, 문, 디귿, 티읕, 시옷, 쌍시옷, 지읒, 치읒, 히읗, 옷, 리을, 물, 미음, 밤, 비읍, 피읍, 밥, 이응, 강.
Here is the master table of the 7 final sounds. This is the single most useful slide in this part, so take a screenshot in your mind. Reading down the first column, the 7 sounds are K, N, T, L, M, P, and NG. Now the interesting column is the third one, which shows which letters collapse into each sound. The K sound at the bottom can be written with plain G, aspirated K, or tense double G. For example, the word buiyak, meaning kitchen, ends in an aspirated K letter, but is pronounced with a simple held K. The N sound comes only from N, as in mun, meaning door. The T sound is the big surprise. No fewer than 7 letters, D, T, S, double S, J, CH, and H, all become a held T sound at the bottom of a block. So the word ot, meaning clothes, is spelled with a final S, but it is pronounced ot with a held T, not os. This trips up every beginner, so remember. At the bottom, S, J, C, H, T, and H all sound like T. The L sound comes from the letter real, as in mull, meaning water. The M sound comes from M, as in bam, meaning night or chestnut. The P sound comes from B or aspirated P, as in bap, meaning rice. And the NG sound comes from the circle, as in gang, meaning river. 7 sounds, and that large T group is the one to drill.
이응, 밥, 이,
밥이. 밥이.
Here is a friendly and very common rule that will make your reading sound natural. Linking, sometimes called liaison. When a syllable ending in a bachem is followed by a syllable that begins with the silent circle, meaning that next syllable really starts with a vowel, the bachem consonant jumps over and is pronounced as the first sound of the next syllable. Look at the example. We have bap, ending in the bachem B, followed by the block I, which starts with the silent circle. Instead of saying bapai with a hard stop, Koreans slide the B over into the second syllable, and it comes out as babai. The B is not lost. It simply moves next door where there is an empty consonant slot waiting, because that circle was only a silent placeholder. This linking happens constantly in Korean, especially with grammar endings that begin with a vowel, and it is why spoken Korean flows so smoothly. So when you see a bachem followed by a block starting with the silent circle, let the bottom consonant slide across. Bap plus I becomes babai. Practice that gliding motion. It instantly makes your Korean sound more fluent.
닭, 안, 기억.
Let me give you a brief, reassuring note about double bachem, so that you are not confused when you eventually meet it. A small number of Korean syllables have 2 different consonants sitting side by side on the bottom of the block. The example on the right is the word dak, meaning chicken, which is spelled with both a real and a geoke on the bottom. In most such cases, only one of the 2 consonants is actually pronounced. In dak, only the G sound is heard, so it is said dak, not dalk. Which of the 2 wins depends on the specific combination and sometimes on what follows, and there are a few rules, but honestly, as a beginner you do not need to memorize them now. My advice is simply to recognize that double bachem exists, so it does not startle you, and then to learn each of these words individually as you encounter them, because there really are not very many of them in everyday speech. So file this away as an advanced detail, smile, and move on. You already know the 7 sounds that do the heavy lifting.
책, 산, 꽃, 집, 치읓.
Let us practice reading final sounds with 4 real words. Say each one, and really focus on holding that last consonant rather than popping it. The first word is keek, meaning book. It ends in a geoke, so the final sound is a held K. The second is san, meaning mountain, ending in a clean, and the third is the important one. It is spelled with a final chiat, the CH letter, but remember that in the bachem position the whole T group, including CH, collapses to a held T sound, so this word is pronounced K-kot, not K-cock. It means flower. The fourth is jip, meaning house, ending in a held P. Now the romanizations and meanings appear. Keek, a book, san, a mountain, K-kot, a flower, jip, a house. The one to double-check is K-kot. Even though your eye sees a CH letter on the bottom, your mouth should say a held T. This is the most common bachem trap, so practice K-kot a few times until saying T for a written CH at the bottom feels natural.
시옷, 지읒, 치읓, 티읕, 히읗, 이응, 옷.
옷이.
Let us review part 6. First, a bachem is the consonant at the bottom of a syllable block. Second, no matter which letter is written there, it produces only one of 7 final sounds, K, N, T, L, M, P, or NG. Third, the biggest group is the T group. The letters S, J, C, H, T, and H all become a held T when they sit at the bottom. Fourth, when a bachem is followed by a block that begins with the silent circle, the bachem links across and is pronounced as the first sound of the next syllable. Now check yourself. How is the word spelled O plus final S pronounced on its own? It is ot, with a held T, because the final S belongs to the T group. And what happens in the two-block phrase otai, where the second block starts with the silent circle? The final S links across, and now that it is at the start of a syllable rather than the bottom, it recovers its true S sound, so the phrase is pronounced OC. That is a perfect illustration of both rules working together. Excellent work. You now understand the trickiest part of Korean reading.
Welcome to Part 7, the reward for all your hard work, reading real Korean. You now know the consonants, the vowels, how they build blocks, and how bacham behaves. That is genuinely everything you need to sound out Korean words. In this part, we will read greetings you would actually use, a set of common beginner words, and even a full short sentence. Do not worry about memorizing vocabulary yet. The goal here is to practice turning blocks into sounds smoothly and confidently.
안녕하세요. 감사합니다. 안녕히. 가세요.
네,
아니요.
안, 영, 하, 세, 요.
Let us start with greetings you can use on your very first day in Korea. The first and most important is 안녕하세요, which means hello and is used at any time of day. It is 5 blocks long, so read it slowly block by block, 안녕하세요, and then blend them together, 안녕하세요. The second is 감사합니다, meaning thank you. A small pronunciation note. It is spelled with what looks like hamnida, but the letters shift slightly in speech, and it comes out 감사합니다. Just follow the sounds-like column for now. The third is 안녕히 가세요, which is how you say goodbye to someone who is leaving while you stay. Notice it shares that same 안녕 beginning, which literally relates to peace and well-being. And the fourth line gives you 2 tiny but essential words, ni, meaning yes, and ainayo, meaning no. Now try the tip. Read hello 1 block at a time, and 안녕하세요, and then let the blocks flow into the natural greeting 안녕하세요. You are now reading and speaking real Korean.
물, 밥,
사람. 친구. 학교. 커피. 한국. 사랑.
Here are 8 common words that every beginner learns early, and every one of them is made only of letters you already know. On the top row, mul meaning water, bap meaning cooked rice, our old friend with the P bacham, saram meaning person, and chingu meaning friend. On the bottom row, hakjayo meaning school, kiopai, which is the Korean pronunciation of the word coffee, hanguk meaning Korea itself, literally the Han country, and sarang meaning love, a word you will see in countless Korean songs. Read each one block by block. Take saram, the first block is sa, the second is ram, so saram. Take hakjayo, hak with its k bacham, then jayo, so hakjayo. Notice the key point at the bottom. Korean words are short, usually just 1, 2, or 3 blocks. That means once you can read a block, you can read almost any word by simply reading its blocks in order. Try reading all 8 aloud without looking at the romanization. You will surprise yourself.
음악. 한국어. 발음.
Now a reading exercise that uses the linking rule from the bacham part, because linking is what makes your reading sound natural. 3 words are on the screen. Sound each one out, and remember to let a bacham slide across when the next block begins with the silent circle. The first word is spelled iamak, with a M bacham on the first block and a silent circle starting the second. But because of linking, the M slides over, and it is pronounced iumak, meaning music. The second word is hangukyo. The second block ends in a K bacham, and the third block starts with the silent circle, so the K slides over, giving hangugyo, meaning the Korean language. The third word is spelled balium, where the first block ends in an L bacham and the second starts with the silent circle, so the L slides across and it is pronounced barium, meaning pronunciation, which is rather fitting. The answers appear in green, iumak hangugyo barium. If you applied the linking each time, congratulations, You are reading like a natural. If you read them with hard stops, that is fine too. Just try again and let those bottom consonants glide into the next block.
저는 학생이에요.
는 학 생 이 에 요
Now let us read a whole sentence, which is the true test of everything you have learned. The sentence on the screen is Gyeonun Haksing Yo, and it means I am a student. Let us read it block by block along the bottom. The first block is Geo, meaning I or me in a polite style. The second is noon, a little grammar particle that marks the topic of the sentence. Together, Gyeonun means as for me. Then comes the word for student spelled Haksing, 2 blocks, Hak with a K bacham and Sing with an NG bacham. After that come the blocks I, E, and Yo, which together form the polite ending that means am or is. Now watch the linking arrow. The block Sing ends in an NG sound, and the next block I begins with the silent circle, so the NG links across and we say Sing. I rather than seeing, then I put it all together and the sentence flows as Gyeonun Haksing Yo. Say it slowly first, then at a natural pace. Take a moment to appreciate what just happened. A short while ago these were unfamiliar squares, and now you have read a complete Korean sentence out loud. That is a real milestone.
안녕하세요. 음악. 감사합니다. 한국.
Let us review part 7. First, you can now greet people. 안녕하세요 means hello. Second, Korean words are short, usually 1 to 3 blocks, so you read them comfortably block by block. Third, the linking rule makes your reading sound smooth and natural, as when iumak becomes iumak. And fourth, you have read a complete sentence on your own, Gyeonun Haksing Yo, I am a student. Now check yourself with 2 quick reads. First, read the word gamsa hamnida aloud. It means thank you. Second, read Hanguk. It means Korea. If you can sound those out from the blocks, you have all the reading skills a beginner needs. In the final part, we will pull the entire course together with a big summary and one last practice session, so you can see just how far you have come. Here we are at the final part, part 8, bringing it all together. In this closing section, we will summarize the entire system on a single screen, recap the full alphabet, tackle one last practice challenge with real Korean words, and then run through a short self-assessment so you can measure exactly how far you have come. Take pride in this moment. You have learned an entire writing system from scratch.
이응
Let us put the whole system in one picture. On the left is the ladder we started with, now filled in with detail. At the top are the letters, 14 consonants and 10 vowels. Those combine into blocks, each a consonant plus a vowel with an optional final consonant. Blocks combine into words, which in Korean are usually just 1 to 3 blocks long, and words, read with the linking rule, become fluent reading. On the right are the golden rules that govern each step. 1. Letter shapes encode their sounds because Hangul is a featural alphabet. 2. A tall vowel goes to the right of the consonant and a flat vowel goes below it. 3. A final consonant goes on the bottom of the block, and no matter which letter it is, it makes only one of 7 sounds. 4. A bacham links into the next block when that block begins with the silent circle. That is the entire system. Think about it. Everything you need to go from 24 letters to reading real Korean fits on this single slide. If you ever feel rusty, come straight back here.
기억 니은 디귿 리을 미음 비읍 시옷 이응 지읒 히읗 치읓 히읗 티읕 피읕 쌍기역 쌍디귿 쌍디읍 쌍시옷 쌍지읒 아, 야, 어, 여, 오, 요, 우, 유, 으, 이, 에, 예, 예, 와, 워, 왜, 왜, 위, 의.
Here is a full recap of every letter we have met, color-coded by group. In the consonant block, the black letters are the 10 plain consonants in dictionary order. G, N, D, R, M, B, S, the silent circle J, and H, the pink letters, are the 4 aspirated consonants, said with a puff of air. CH, K, T, and P and the green letters are the 5 tense consonants, said tight and clipped. Double G, double D, double B, double S, and double J in the vowel block, the black letters are the 10 simple vowels. A, y, e, o, yo, o, yo, u, e, u, and I, the blue letters, are the compound vowels, including the E-type sounds and all the W-type glides. Now for a self-test. Cover the colors with your hand and go through the letters one by one. For each, try to say its sound and name which group it belongs to: plain, aspirated, tense, simple, or compound. If you can do most of them, you have genuinely learned the Korean alphabet. If a few are shaky, note which ones and give them a little extra attention. That targeted review is the fastest way to finish the job.
서울, 김치, 친구, 커피, 선생님, 비빔밥.
Here is your final challenge: 6 real Korean words, and you have every tool to read them. Sound each one out, minding your bacham sounds and your links before the answers appear. The first is the name of Korea's capital city, Seoul. The first block ends in an L bacham that links gently into the second, giving Seoul. The second is gimkai, the famous fermented dish, kimchi. The third is chingu, meaning friend, which you already know. On the bottom row, kiopai, coffee, then seon nim, meaning teacher, a 3-block word you should read 1 block at a time, seon, seeing, nim, and finally bibimbap, the well-known mixed rice dish, ending in that familiar P bacham. Now the answers appear in green. Check each one. If you read even 4 of these 6 correctly, you have truly succeeded, because these are ordinary words you would see on menus, signs, and name cards all over Korea. Notice how you no longer see mysterious squares, you see syllables, and you can voice them. That is the whole point of this course, and you have reached it. Let us do an honest self-assessment. I will ask 5 yes or no questions, and you count how many you can answer with a confident yes. Question 1. Can you name the sound of any basic consonant and any basic vowel when you see it? Question 2. Can you explain the difference between plain, aspirated, and tense consonants and demonstrate them like ga, ka, kka? Question 3. Can you build a syllable block from a set of loose letters, placing the vowel and any final consonant correctly? Question 4. Can you list the 7 bacham sounds, K, N, T, L, M, P, and NG? And question 5. Can you read a short word or a simple sentence aloud on your own? Now score yourself using the panel on the right. 5 yeses means you are a fluent Hangul reader, which is a wonderful achievement. 3 or 4 means you are almost there and just need a little polish. 0 to 2 on any area means simply revisit that particular part of the course and then retest yourself. Learning is a loop, not a straight line, so wherever you landed, you now know exactly what to practice next.
잘했어요.
Congratulations! The big letters on the screen say 잘 했어요, which means well done and you have earned it. Let me leave you with 3 simple habits to keep your new skill growing. First, read Korean everywhere you find it, on signs, menus, product packages, song titles, and subtitles. Even sounding out words you do not understand strengthens your reading. Second, practice aloud a little every day, because saying the sounds cements them far better than reading silently. Even 5 minutes daily works wonders. Third, keep learning new words, because every word you add gives your reading more meaning and more joy. Remember where you began, a wall of unfamiliar squares. And look at you now, reading real Korean sentences and words. The alphabet you have just learned is the single key that unlocks the entire Korean language. Everything else, grammar, vocabulary, conversation, is built on this foundation you now own. Keep reading a little every day, be patient and kind with yourself, and enjoy the journey. jalhiasiyo and goodbye for now. Annyeonghaseyo.